In the shadowy depths of dense forests, tales linger like whispers on the wind, stories that spark wonder and curiosity. Among these legends, one stands out, the legend of Bigfoot. Known to many as Sasquatch, this elusive creature has captured imaginations for generations. With stories stretching back hundreds of years, people have claimed to catch glimpses of a towering figure covered in thick fur, moving gracefully through the trees. Some say he walks silently like a ghost, while others believe he leaves behind traces of his existence with massive footprints. If you enjoy this video, please like the video and subscribe for more. And tell me where you are watching from today. I always find it awesome to see where all my viewers are watching from. Let's get back to the video. Bigfoot is more than just a myth. He represents the mysteries of nature and the unknown. Sightings have been reported across various regions, from the misty mountains of the Pacific Northwest to the rugged hills of the Appalachian region. Explorers, hunters, and everyday people have all shared their encounters, some thrilling and others chilling. But regardless of personal belief or skepticism, Bigfoot remains an enigmatic symbol that prompts questions about what lies hidden in our vast natural world. As stories evolved over time, they transformed into a cultural phenomenon. People flocked to wooded areas, armed with cameras and recording devices, hoping to capture evidence that would prove Bigfoot's existence, or at least get a closer look at something undeniably extraordinary. Enthusiasts organized expeditions and created clubs dedicated to investigating sightings. Investigators combed through reports, analyzing details, and attempting to connect dots that might lead to an undeniable revelation. Yet behind each tale is an underlying theme: nature's fragility. The growing fascination with Bigfoot often coincides with a deeper understanding of how human actions impact wildlife habitats. Many enthusiasts recognize that protecting our forests and wilderness is key to ensuring creatures like Bigfoot, if they exist, can thrive without disturbance. This awareness brings forth a connection between humankind and nature, urging respect toward the environment. But what if one encounter could change everything? What if sparing this legendary creature's life brought forth not just another tale, but a powerful message? This notion trails us back to 1972, when a man named Tom found himself deep within these woods. Tom was an ordinary person who had always respected nature, but never thought much about legends like Bigfoot until fate intervened. On that fateful day in 1972, Tom set out on what he thought would be just another hiking trip, a chance to escape the hustle and bustle of daily life and immerse himself in the tranquility of the forest. He felt at peace surrounded by towering trees whose leaves danced gently in the breeze. Birds chirped sweet melodies above him, while sunlight filtered through the branches like golden ribbons. But as he wandered deeper into unfamiliar territory, Tom stumbled into something extraordinary, a clearing where silence hung heavy in the air. It was there that he first caught sight of Bigfoot. The moment took his breath away. There stood a magnificent figure, larger than any man he'd ever seen, covered in dark hair that glistened under the sun's rays. Though fear crept into his heart initially, curiosity quickly took hold as he gazed into Bigfoot's deep-set eyes, filled with intelligence and something else. An ancient wisdom, perhaps. This was not just any creature. It was a guardian of secrets long forgotten by mankind, a being that existed on the edge of reality itself. In those few seconds that felt like hours, time stood still as Tom faced a decision that would echo through the history. Should he raise his camera or weapon? Should he flee or confront? His instincts urged him to run. However, something beyond fear pulled him closer, a desire for understanding rather than violence. With courage swirling in his chest like wildfire, Tom made an unprecedented choice. He would spare Bigfoot's life. As Tom stood there feeling both vulnerable and empowered, Bigfoot studied him quietly before slowly retreating back into the dense trees from which he'd emerged. That fleeting moment became etched in Tom's memory forever. Not because it was merely an encounter, but because it began a new chapter where legends intertwined with reality. Little did Tom know that this decision would lead not just to more questions about Bigfoot, but also transform his relationship with nature itself. One influenced by respect and admiration rather than fear. In this initial introduction to Bigfoot's legend lies more than just folklore. It unveils themes of humanity's connection with nature and sets up anticipation for what comes next. The unfolding journey sparked by one man's choice in 1972 amidst towering trees and ancient wonders waiting silently for recognition. As the sun rose higher in the sky, illuminating the forest floor with patches of warm light, Tom continued his hike deeper into the woods. He felt a sense of adventure bubbling within him, mixed with the soothing sounds of nature. The rustling leaves and gentle chirps of birds created a symphony that put him at ease. Little did he know, this ordinary day was about to become extraordinary. After walking for some time, Tom stumbled upon a tranquil clearing. It was an oasis enveloped by towering trees and dotted with wildflowers, their colors vibrant against the green backdrop. The air was filled with a sweet fragrance, invigorating and refreshing. He paused to take it all in, appreciating the beauty that surrounded him. But an odd silence fell over the clearing, as if nature itself had held its breath. Suddenly, a faint sound broke through the stillness, a rustle in the bushes nearby. Curiosity piqued, Tom turned in its direction, his heart racing, with both excitement and a hint of trepidation. As he stepped closer, he caught sight of movement that made his breath hitch in his throat. What emerged from the trees was unlike anything he'd ever seen. There stood Bigfoot. The creature towered above him, easily 8 feet tall, with thick fur that shimmered in the sunlight. Its massive frame was both intimidating and awe-inspiring. Tom felt like he had stepped into a different world, one where legends came to life. His mind raced. Was this real? Was he dreaming? Despite the fear creeping into his heart, fascination quickly took hold. Bigfoot didn't rush toward Tom. Instead, he moved with grace, his large feet barely making a sound against the forest floor. The creature's deep-set eyes met Tom's gaze, and in that moment, something incredible happened. Instead of finding ferocity or danger, Tom sensed curiosity and a hint of wisdom emanating from Bigfoot. It was as if they were communicating beyond words. Tom's instinct urged him to reach for his camera, or perhaps even his hiking pole for protection. A million thoughts whirled through his mind. Should he run? Scream? Capture this rare moment for the world to see? But as he stood frozen in place, he sensed that acting out of fear would only shatter this extraordinary encounter. With each heartbeat echoing in his ears, Tom struggled with his decision. He could see Bigfoot's powerful muscles rippling beneath its fur as it took a step forward. Yet there was no aggression in its demeanor. Instead, there was a calmness that mesmerized him. The air felt thick with tension as they regarded each other. Two beings from different worlds sharing a fleeting moment together. Tom's heart raced not just out of fear, but from an urge to understand this incredible creature standing before him. Should he be afraid of the unknown? Or should he embrace it with respect? He chose the latter. Tom planted his feet firmly on the ground and took a deep breath, feeling a wave of courage wash over him. "I won't harm you," he whispered softly, as if speaking aloud would break the fragile spell that hung between them. In his heart, he wanted to convey understanding rather than threat, an offering of peace instead of conflict. As if sensing Tom's sincerity, Bigfoot paused for a moment, tilting its head slightly as though weighing Tom's intentions. Then, without warning, the creature turned and began to retreat back into the depths of the forest. For a brief second, time seemed to freeze again. Tom found himself mesmerized by Bigfoot's graceful movements as it melted away among the trees. A flood of emotions rushed through Tom: relief, awe, and an overwhelming sense of connection to nature. In those seconds that stretched into eternity, he realized he'd made a choice that went beyond saving a life. He had chosen understanding over fear and embraced the spirit of nature instead of pushing it away. Tom stood in that clearing long after Bigfoot had disappeared from sight, replaying the encounter over and over in his mind. It was more than just a chance meeting. It was a bond forged in understanding and respect, one that would forever alter how he perceived both animals and humans alike. He headed back home that day with not only stories to tell, but also lessons learned about bravery and coexistence. The woods would never feel quite the same after witnessing that powerful presence. As shadows lengthened across the forest floor and the sun dipped lower in the sky, Tom knew this encounter had ignited something within him, an awareness that would grow and lead him down paths unimagined. Little did he realize that sparing Bigfoot's life marked just the beginning of an extraordinary journey that would intertwine their fates forever. As Tom stood in the clearing, heart racing, he faced the mythical creature that was Bigfoot. The towering figure seemed to embody the very essence of the forest. Powerful, ancient, and mysterious. Everything around him faded away as he concentrated on the moment. It was a choice unlike any other he would ever have to make: to protect life or end it. In that fleeting encounter, time felt suspended, and his instincts battled with his heart. He considered how many others would have raised their cameras or weapons at this very juncture. An exciting story could be captured, or even a trophy claimed. But deep within him stirred an awareness that this encounter was different. This was no ordinary wild animal, but a creature wrapped in legend and mystery. Tom thought about stories he had heard as a child. Tales of Bigfoot lurking in the shadows of trees, of townspeople whispering about sightings under the cover of darkness. In those moments, Bigfoot had always seemed like a mere figment of imagination, a fantasy fueled by fear and curiosity. Yet here he was, witnessing something real and raw that shattered all preconceived notions about wild creatures. With every beat of his heart, Tom felt an urge to not only witness, but to connect. He wanted to understand rather than react out of fear. The noble emotions swirling inside him tugged at his conscience and ignited a sense of responsibility. What if this moment meant something greater? What if by choosing compassion over violence, he could bridge the gap between humanity and nature? Memories of time spent in nature flooded back to him. Moments filled with awe and respect for the beauty around him. He recalled afternoons spent watching deer graze peacefully or listening to owls hoot softly in twilight. Nature's creatures held secrets and stories that humankind had forgotten in their race toward progress. He looked into Bigfoot's eyes, deep pools reflecting what seemed like ancient wisdom mingled with sparkling curiosity. There was no threat visible there. Instead, there was a gentle longing, as if Bigfoot could sense Tom's internal struggle. The two beings stood on different sides of existence, yet shared this fragile space where worlds collided. "What am I supposed to do?" Tom murmured quietly, both to himself and to Bigfoot, as though seeking guidance from the being who had stepped from legend into reality. Bigfoot remained still, but regarded Tom with an intensity that felt almost reassuring. In that silence, decisions crystallized in Tom's mind. Traditional expectations fell away like autumn leaves from trees shedding burdens before winter's arrival. With newfound clarity, Tom chose courage over fear, the courage to act with kindness instead of aggression. "I won't harm you," he declared firmly yet gently, words spilling from his heart like sunlight breaking through clouds after a storm. His voice echoed softly through the clearing, as if nature itself acknowledged Tom's vow. The very air felt charged with energy, as if both beings respected this pivotal moment. An understanding etched into time, where life would not be extinguished, but cherished instead. In response, Bigfoot seemed to relax slightly, tilting its head as if pondering Tom's sincerity, or perhaps even acknowledging it in kind. And then came the crucial moment. The creature took a step backward, before turning away from him completely. Time seemed to stretch infinitely, while Tom watched Bigfoot retreat slowly into the embrace of intertwined branches and green shadows, dappling dim light across its fur. It vanished before him like smoke dissipating in the wind. Yet in its wake lingered an overwhelming sense of connection and purpose that transformed their brief meeting into something profound. Tom stood frozen for several long moments, contemplating what had just transpired. The choice made and its significance. A choice that defied expectations established by society and culture alike, where myths are often met with fear and violence rather than understanding and reverence. He marveled at how this decision reached far beyond saving Bigfoot. It spoke directly to preserving life itself. Not just one creature, but perhaps all creatures living within these woods, whose existence depended on humanity's willingness to respect nature rather than dominate it. Finally breaking free from hesitation, Tom turned away from the clearing where legends mingled with reality, feeling changed inside. He felt empowered by his decision. A new awareness ignited within him, like a flame lighting up unseen corners of his heart. A longing to share this experience with others and inspire them toward coexistence. As he made his way back down the trail leading homeward beneath cascading sunlight, filtering through swaying branches overhead, Tom understood. This encounter marked only the beginning, a small ripple causing waves of change stretching beyond time itself. And he knew deep down that he had embarked on an unforgettable journey alongside something rare that would shape how he lived going forward. This pivotal decision, to spare Bigfoot's life, would serve as his guiding light moving forth, forever etched within him as a promise. Choose kindness over conflict and respect nature for all its wonders, waiting silently just beyond reach. As Bigfoot stepped back, the air in the clearing shifted, charged with a mixture of awe and uncertainty. Tom felt his breath catch in his throat as he watched the creature begin to turn away from him. The world seemed to blur around them, and for a fleeting moment, it was as though time itself had paused to witness this extraordinary moment. Bigfoot moved with a grace that belied its massive size, blending seamlessly into the shadows of the trees. Tom couldn't tear his gaze away. Every muscle in his body was taut with anticipation as he tried to memorize every detail. The creature's thick fur shimmered in the dappled sunlight, creating an almost ethereal glow, and its powerful limbs moved fluidly, like a river flowing through a landscape of vibrant greens and browns. With each step Bigfoot took backward, Tom felt a pang of loss gripping his heart. He understood that this encounter was more than just a fleeting moment. It was a bridge between worlds, the mythical and the real. Yet, as Bigfoot continued to retreat into the depths of the forest, Tom felt an overwhelming sense of connection lingering in the air. Bigfoot paused briefly at the edge of the trees, turning its head slightly to regard Tom one last time. In that second, there was no fear or threat, only an understanding that transcended words. It was as if Bigfoot recognized the significance of their meeting and acknowledged Tom's choice to spare its life. In that shared glance, Tom sensed both gratitude and wisdom radiating from the creature, creating an unspoken bond that would resonate within him forever. Then, like wisps of fog dissolving in the morning light, Bigfoot vanished into the foliage. A cacophony of rustling leaves broke the silence, as if nature itself sighed with relief, or perhaps even gratitude. The quiet returned to the clearing, but it felt different now, imbued with magic and possibility. Tom stood alone in that sacred space, feeling an emotional whirlwind swirl inside him. With each passing second, he replayed the moment over and over in his mind. The decision made not out of fear or aggression, but from a deep desire for understanding and respect. The weight of what had just happened pressed heavily on his heart. Yet it also filled him with a profound sense of purpose. He turned slowly in circles around the clearing, taking in every detail. The wildflowers danced gently in the breeze, their colors vibrant against the muted browns and greens of nature. Sunlight filtered through overhead branches, casting playful shadows on the ground beneath him. This place, a sanctuary where legend met reality, was now etched indelibly in his memory. With resolve growing within him, Tom knew he could not simply return home unchanged after such a monumental experience. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes for a moment, allowing himself to feel connected to every living thing surrounding him. The trees whispering ancient secrets, the birds flitting about joyfully above his head. The forest pulsed with life and energy, as if it celebrated this new chapter unfolding before him. Yet as he made his way back along the path leading homeward, he couldn't shake off a feeling of urgency, an unexplainable need to share what had transpired with others who might listen and learn from this encounter. This wasn't just his story. It belonged to everyone who had ever gazed into nature's depths and wondered about its mysteries. Tom envisioned people gathering together under stars twinkling brightly above, a community united by mutual respect for all living creatures. He saw hikers sharing tales around campfires, while children listened wide-eyed with wonderment about Bigfoot and other forest guardians who protected their realms yet remained hidden from view. Each step he took down that familiar trail became more purposeful. He was now an ambassador for understanding between humans and nature. Tom felt transformed from mere observer to messenger, a role he hadn't anticipated when he first entered the woods that day. Though Bigfoot had departed into legend once again, leaving only whispers along trails behind him, Tom understood that this departure marked not an end, but rather an important beginning. A new journey sparked by choices made amid wild beauty where legends roam free. As twilight descended upon the forest canopy overhead, deepening shadows wrapping around him like an embrace, Tom resolved to honor what he had witnessed by spreading awareness about coexistence with nature's wonders waiting silently just beyond reach. The mysterious departure of Bigfoot would remain imprinted on his heart forever, a reminder always urging him toward empathy and love for all beings sharing this earth, human or otherwise. And so began a quest filled with hope for understanding, harmony, and connection. Within himself and among all living entities, intertwined through life's intricate web woven carefully over time itself. Years passed since that unforgettable day when Tom spared Bigfoot's life. His life became intertwined with nature, his weekends often spent hiking the very same trails where he once encountered the legendary creature. He immersed himself in wildlife conservation, dedicating his life to raising awareness about the importance of protecting the forests and all its inhabitants. Each tree, every rustling leaf, reminded him of Bigfoot, the guardian of the woods whom he had once met face to face. However, as time moved on, Tom began to notice subtle changes in the forest. The vibrant colors of autumn leaves seemed duller than before, and the wildflowers, which used to bloom with abandon, appeared sparse. Animals that once frolicked freely seemed more elusive, their typical trails fading away like distant memories. From the edge of a hilltop where he often stood, in reflection, Tom could see that something was amiss in the landscape he loved so dearly. One brisk morning in early autumn, Tom set off for a hike along a familiar route, but felt a sense of urgency tugging at him. The air was different today, heavy with an unshakable tension. As he made his way deeper into the forest, his heart raced as he stumbled upon what appeared to be a series of large footprints deeply pressed into the earth. They were unmistakably Bigfoot's, a clear sign that he was still nearby or had returned to this very place. Tom's heart swelled with hope, but quickly twisted with anxiety. Were these prints left by a friend, or were they an ominous indicator? He knelt down to examine them closely. The soil around the prints looked disturbed, as if there had been a struggle or some form of chaos. Thick branches lay broken on the ground nearby, and unusually large tufts of fur caught in the underbrush raised questions in Tom's mind. He felt compelled to move forward despite the apprehension winding around him like ivy on ancient trees. Each step forward was guided by instinct, pushing him deeper into what felt like an unsettling mystery hidden within the woods. As he continued walking, uncanny silence enveloped him. Birds ceased their songs, and even the rustle of leaves appeared hushed, as if nature itself awaited something significant. Eventually, Tom reached the clearing where he had once encountered Bigfoot so many years ago. Standing amidst towering trees that shot toward the blue sky like sentinels, he paused to gather his thoughts. Memories raced through him. Bigfoot's gentle gaze and understanding blended seamlessly with his own exhilaration at witnessing such a magnificent creature. This was a hallowed space, preserved in time. Yet today, it felt eerily empty. Suddenly, Tom noticed movement at the edge of the clearing, a colossal figure emerging from behind a cluster of trees. His heart leapt as he recognized it instantly. Bigfoot was back. This time, however, there was an intensity in Bigfoot's demeanor, a sense of urgency reflected in its eyes. Something was terribly wrong. Tom stepped forward cautiously, feeling both excitement and dread dance within him like flickering shadows on a wall. "Is it you?" he whispered hoarsely, recalling their previous exchange filled with peace and connection. But this time felt different. Bigfoot's stance was tense and protective. As if sensing Tom's thoughts, Bigfoot took one slow step forward, then paused to look around cautiously before gazing back at Tom once more. In an instant, clarity washed over Tom. It became evident that this visit wasn't merely a reunion, it was a warning. Circling his surroundings carefully, Bigfoot pointed toward tangled vines ruched among roots and branches, leading deeper into unexplored territory. The wild brush looked strangely out of place. With each motion, it seemed to convey a message. Something dangerous lurked nearby and threatened their sanctuary. Tom felt a chill rise up his spine as understanding swept through him. Deforestation and encroachment were not just tales told in articles. They were real threats invading this sacred land. This was not just about Bigfoot's existence alone, but about preserving the entire ecosystem at risk from human actions intent on extracting resources without regard for balance or survival. With renewed determination igniting inside him, as fiercely as wildfire lapping at dry grasslands under an unyielding sun, Tom knew what had to be done. "You're right." He nodded solemnly toward Bigfoot's insightful gaze. "We cannot sit idly by while our home is destroyed." Bigfoot seemed to acknowledge his resolve, with another powerful nod before retreating back into the enveloping shadows. Not to disappear completely, but rather signaling for Tom to follow, beckoning him toward action. Understanding blossomed within him. This wasn't just about one encounter. It was about countless others waiting unseen within nature's depths, needing voices amplifying their plight against threats looming at every juncture. They would need more than myths. They deserved advocacy fueled by profound connection and mutual respect forged in experiences shared across generations. Tom took a deep breath as resolve filled his heart anew. This journey would become more than an individual mission. It would unite others who cherished wild places everywhere, ready to join forces in defense against irreparable harm being wrought upon integrity, preserved within forests, pulsing alive under dusk-lit skies, chasing horizons ever so brightly ahead. As Tom stood in the clearing, the weight of Bigfoot's warning hung heavy in the air. The moment felt surreal, like crossing a threshold into a world where time and reality intertwined. He looked around, taking in the familiar surroundings that had once been filled with warmth and life, now shadowed by an unsettling silence. The trees swayed gently in the breeze, as if urging him forward, echoing the resolve he felt stirring within. With a deep breath, Tom followed the path that Bigfoot had taken, moving cautiously yet purposefully. He felt an electric energy coursing through him, igniting his instincts to protect not just the land he loved, but the very spirit of nature itself. Each step resonated with a sense of urgency, and he could almost hear the whispers of the forest, their calls for help blending seamlessly with his own determination. As he ventured deeper into the woods, Tom recalled the many times he'd hiked these trails over the years. The laughter of children playing nearby, the sound of rushing streams, and the songs of chirping birds were now memories tinged with nostalgia. With every memory that surfaced, he felt a renewed commitment to safeguard this sanctuary from any harm that lay ahead. After navigating through dense underbrush and towering trees, Tom arrived at an area he hadn't explored before, a place where wildflowers grew thickly, their vibrant colors muted by shadows of encroaching branches. It was here that he saw them, signs of distress scattered across the landscape. Broken branches hung low, and patches of earth appeared scarred and disheveled. Tom knelt down to investigate further. The soil was disturbed not only by nature, but also by human activity. Heavy footprints left behind by machinery and efforts to clear land for development. Anger surged within him as he recognized the reality of what was happening. Encroachment on this wilderness was more than just a threat. It was an assault on everything that lived within it. Determined to act, Tom pulled out his phone and began documenting what he saw. Photos would be evidence to rally support from others who cared about preserving the beauty of their natural world. His heart raced as ideas swirled in his mind about organizing a community effort to raise awareness about protecting their precious ecosystem. Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes caught his attention, snapping him back to focus. He turned to see Bigfoot emerging from the thicket once more, its massive form stepping gracefully into view. This time, however, there was an unmistakable intensity in its demeanor. Bigfoot's eyes met Tom's with an urgency that seemed to say, "We must act now." "Thank you for coming back," Tom said softly. feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude toward the creature that had once shared sacred space with him. I understand now what I need to do. Bigfoot stepped closer, lowering its head slightly as if acknowledging Tom's resolve. It gestured toward a distant area where trees had been felled and machinery lay idle, an unsettling sight that signaled impending destruction. Tom nodded in understanding. This was no longer just about preserving their connection, but about mobilizing others who shared their love for this land. It was time to create a movement, one that echoed through the woods and reached far beyond. As Bigfoot moved alongside him, Tom felt a bond forge anew, one built on mutual respect and shared purpose. Together they traversed through the forest, seeking out signs of trouble while planning their next steps. With each stride they took together, Tom felt invigorated. It was as if Bigfoot's presence fueled his passion for conservation. The duo came upon a small group of deer grazing cautiously at the edge of a clearing. They paused together as if assessing their surroundings before continuing to nibble at tender shoots peeking through the ground cover. Seeing these innocent creatures reminded Tom why their actions mattered. This wasn't merely about Bigfoot. It was about the entire ecosystem that depended on harmony balanced delicately among all beings. As dusk began to settle over the forest canopy, casting golden hues across leaves and shadows alike, Tom knew they had work to do. Plans began forming in his mind. Community meetings to educate, others about environmental stewardship, and organized efforts to protect critical habitats from further destruction. With Bigfoot standing resolutely beside him, a guardian of nature, it became clear that their journey would not be solitary. They would inspire others to join forces in defense against threats looming large on the horizon. We'll make sure everyone knows what's at stake, Tom vowed aloud as they moved forward together into twilight's embrace. This is just the beginning. And as they ventured forth, every step echoing with purpose, they carried within them not just hope, but an unbreakable bond forged between humanity and nature. A promise to protect what remained sacred while respecting those who called it home long before they ever existed. As twilight deepened around them, Tom and Bigfoot ventured further into the heart of the forest, driven by a shared purpose. The air was thick with anticipation, as if nature itself held its breath in expectation of what was to come. Tom felt a sense of urgency radiating from Bigfoot, who walked beside him with an almost palpable intensity. It was clear that this wasn't just a mere return. It was a pivotal moment that would deliver a vital message. They arrived at a small clearing where sunlight filtered through the canopy above, casting intricate patterns on the ground below. Here, Bigfoot paused, turning to face Tom directly. The creature's eyes shimmered with wisdom and concern, conveying emotions that words could never encapsulate. Tom felt the weight of this moment pressing upon him, a bridge between two worlds, one human and one wild. "Tell me," Tom urged softly, looking deeply into Bigfoot's gaze. "What is it you want me to understand?" In response, Bigfoot took a slow step back and gestured toward the trees surrounding them. With deliberate movements, it pointed at various parts of the forest, stretched limbs weighed down by the burden of time and human intervention. Each gesture seemed to narrate stories hidden within the bark of trees and the roots interwoven beneath their feet. Tom closed his eyes for a moment, allowing himself to feel the energy in the air. In his mind's eye, he envisioned what had been vast expanses of thriving wildlife, rivers flowing clean and clear, plants flourishing in vibrant colors, all existing in harmony. But as he opened his eyes once again, he could see what was now: a world under siege from careless actions that threatened to unravel these delicate threads of life. Suddenly, Images flashed before him, as if Bigfoot were sharing visions directly into his thoughts. Scenes of deforestation ripping apart habitats, smoke rising from distant fires that choked the land, and creatures fleeing from their homes in fear. The weight settled heavily on Tom's heart as he realized how interconnected everything truly was. Each action reverberated through ecosystems far beyond what most humans understood. "This is more than just our home," he whispered under his breath. "It's about everything that lives here." Bigfoot stepped closer still and emitted a low rumble that resonated through the clearing, a sound not unlike thunder rolling across distant mountains. It felt like an echo of ancient truths long forgotten by humanity. Truths about balance and respect for all forms of life that echoed back through generations. Tom's resolve solidified with each heartbeat. They needed to share this message widely and loudly. He envisioned gatherings filled with community members sharing stories like his own about connections made with nature, where children learned respect for wildlife rather than fear of it. "Together we can make people listen," Tom declared firmly as he drew inspiration from Bigfoot's presence, an embodiment of guardianship for all creatures great and small. "We need their hearts to open up so they can see what's at stake." Bigfoot nodded slowly, as if acknowledging Tom's determination. Then it turned away from him once more, but didn't retreat. Instead, it beckoned him forward deeper into the woods, a silent invitation to accompany it on this journey toward enlightenment. Together, they moved through dappled light cascading down from above until they reached another area where animals had recently gathered. A small stream bubbling merrily as deer drank cautiously on its banks. With each paw or hoof step taken together toward this sanctuary filled with life came renewed hope. The understanding that every moment spent protecting such places mattered immensely. After observing quietly for some time, Tom felt invigorated by witnessing nature's resilience against adversity, despite looming threats surrounding them all too closely. "This is why we fight," he thought resolutely as he gazed at the tranquil scene before him. Here lay proof that harmony could exist even amidst chaos, given proper care. As night descended gently over their surroundings, like an artist applying final strokes onto canvas painted bright with wonderment, yet shadowed by uncertainty ahead. Tom knew he would carry forth this message delivered by Bigfoot. He would become its ambassador among men striving tirelessly toward rekindling bonds not only between humans, but also amongst all beings inhabiting Earth's embrace. "This isn't just about us anymore," Tom said aloud into the stillness surrounding them both. The forest held its breath, awaiting affirmation from nature itself. A promise sealed between two worlds united together under starlit skies, bound by love for all living things, intertwining across time and space forevermore. With newfound purpose ignited within him like flames, dancing brightly against encroaching darkness ahead. They stepped forth resolutely into twilight's embrace, readying themselves for whatever challenges awaited them in pursuit of preservation, forged alongside friendship, sparked anew beneath branches, whispering secrets older than time itself. With a renewed sense of purpose, Tom emerged from the forest, feeling the weight of Bigfoot's message resonate within him. The tranquil beauty of the woods now felt like a call to action. He had witnessed firsthand the dangers that threatened the natural world, and understood that he could no longer remain a passive observer. It was time to galvanize his community and ignite a movement for environmental stewardship. As he made his way back home, Tom's mind raced with ideas for how to spread awareness about the fragile state of their ecosystem. He envisioned community meetings where people could gather to share their experiences and learn about the importance of protecting wildlife habitats. He imagined educational programs in schools, teaching children not only to respect nature, but also to understand their role in safeguarding it. Once home, Tom wasted no time. He grabbed his laptop and began drafting flyers that would announce an upcoming town hall meeting. He wrote passionately about the need for unity in the face of environmental threats, sharing stories of Bigfoot's warning and the urgency behind it. Each word flowed from his heart as he sought to inspire others with the same fervor that now burned inside him. The next day, he distributed flyers throughout his neighborhood, hanging them on community boards, placing them in local shops, and even slipping them into mailboxes. Conversations began to spark amongst neighbors as they read his words, igniting curiosity and concern about their beloved forest. As days turned into weeks, excitement for Tom's meeting grew. People from various parts of town expressed interest, families eager to teach their children about nature's wonders, retirees passionate about preserving their surroundings, and young activists ready to champion environmental causes. It became clear that this was more than just a gathering. It was a call for change. On the night of the meeting, Tom stood nervously at the front of a packed room filled with faces eager to listen. The air buzzed with anticipation as he took a deep breath and began sharing his story. The fateful encounter with Bigfoot and the wisdom imparted during their journey through the woods. He spoke not only about what he had seen, but also about what they stood to lose if they did not act together. I realized that our actions today will shape the future for generations, Tom said passionately, looking out at all those gathered before him. What we do now matters, not just for us, but for every creature that calls this place home. He outlined various initiatives they could undertake, organizing cleanup days in the forest, establishing protected areas where wildlife could thrive without fear of encroachment, and collaborating with local government officials to advocate for sustainable practices that would preserve natural resources. The energy in the room swelled as people began sharing their own ideas and experiences. Stories of hiking, trails lost to development, or wildlife sightings becoming increasingly rare. Each voice added weight to Tom's vision. It was clear that this gathering had awakened something powerful among them, a shared commitment to protect their environment. As discussions continued late into the evening, plans were made for upcoming events, tree planting days, educational workshops on sustainable living practices, and partnerships with conservation organizations dedicated to preserving local ecosystems. The community pledged not only to protect their immediate surroundings, but also to educate others beyond their borders about what could be lost if disregard continued. By the end of the night, there was a palpable sense of hope hanging in the air. A commitment forged between neighbors united by love, for nature echoing through every conversation held beneath flickering lights strung across old wooden beams in Town Hall. Days turned into months as Tom led his community through initiatives aimed at preservation. Each step taken together resonated with purpose as people began feeling empowered by collective action. Fueling change across generations, intertwined forevermore. Through bonds nurtured amid towering trees, holding stories older than time itself. The movement gained traction beyond their town. Neighboring communities heard whispers about what was happening among them. A grassroots effort blossoming rooted in compassion toward all beings, sharing life's intricate web, woven delicately over time. And amidst it all, Bigfoot remained an ever-present symbol, a guardian watching over those who now knew what they needed to do. To listen closely, not just within themselves, but also around them as well. Understanding echoed silently, urging each other forward toward harmony restored between humanity and nature once more. As seasons changed, outside windows, framed by laughter, echoing through homes filled with hope, born anew. The promise remained unbroken. Together, they would fight against any force threatening what lived within. every creature deserving respect in this beautiful tapestry called Earth they all shared together forevermore. As weeks turned into months, the grassroots movement Tom had ignited began to flourish and spread beyond the boundaries of his town. The passion for environmental stewardship resonated deeply within the hearts of his neighbors, who rallied together in a shared mission to protect the forest they all cherished. The once quiet community transformed into a vibrant hub of action, creativity, and commitment. Tom organized regular meetings at the local community center, where residents gathered excitedly to share ideas and plan initiatives. The atmosphere buzzed with energy as families brought their children, eager to teach the next generation about the importance of caring for the environment. It was heartwarming to see young faces light up with curiosity and determination as they learned about wildlife habitats, ecosystems, and conservation efforts. One evening, as Tom stood in front of a packed room filled with enthusiastic faces, he introduced a new initiative: Adopt a Trail. The program would encourage families and individuals to take responsibility for specific trails in the forest, ensuring they remained clean and well-maintained. The idea was met with cheers and applause as community members eagerly signed up. It was a simple yet effective way to foster a sense of ownership and pride among those who participated. Alongside the trail adoption, Tom also proposed tree planting days that would beautify the forest while enhancing its health. Together, they could restore habitat areas that had been damaged over time. With local nurseries donating saplings and supplies, families gathered on weekends to plant trees, creating small groves that would grow into thriving stands of greenery. Each sapling planted became a symbol of their commitment to preserving nature for future generations. As momentum built, Tom reached out to local schools to create educational programs that highlighted environmental awareness. He collaborated with teachers to develop engaging lesson plans that included field trips to the forest, where students could experience nature firsthand. Guided by Tom and other volunteers, children explored the trails, observed wildlife, and learned about the interconnectedness of all living things. The community's efforts began to produce tangible results. Cleanup events along the riverbanks led to clearer waters and healthier ecosystems thriving within the area. Birdwatchers flocked to observe newly returned species who were attracted by the revitalized environment, their songs filling the air with joyous melodies once again. The movement also garnered attention from neighboring towns. News articles highlighted Tom's passionate advocacy for environmental stewardship, inspiring others to initiate similar efforts in their communities. Social media platforms buzzed with stories of triumph, a surge of individuals uniting under a common cause, protecting their natural world. With Bigfoot serving as an ever-present symbol of guardianship for nature, Tom felt compelled to share this story beyond local borders. He organized an annual Nature Festival, inviting speakers from environmental organizations across the state to share wisdom about conservation efforts. Families set up booths with educational activities for children, while local artists displayed works inspired by nature's beauty. The festival became a celebration of life, an opportunity for people to connect not just with nature, but also with one another. As he walked through the festival grounds on that bright autumn day, filled with laughter and excitement, Tom marveled at how far they had come since that pivotal moment in the woods when he first encountered Bigfoot. The bond between humanity and nature had been reignited within his community. It was a force driven by love and respect rather than fear or ignorance. Standing beneath vibrant banners flapping gently in the breeze, he watched as children painted rocks with colorful designs representing animals and plants. Small acts of creativity reminding everyone of their role as stewards of the earth. He felt a profound sense of hope wash over him. Each brushstroke symbolized a promise made, a commitment to protect not just their immediate surroundings, but also all creatures inhabiting this sacred space. As dusk began to settle over the festival grounds, golden hues painting the sky, Tom reflected on everything that had transpired since he first chose compassion over fear those many years ago in the forest clearing. He understood now that this journey went beyond one man or even one community. It was part of something larger, a wave of change sweeping through generations, yearning for connection with nature's heartbeat. In that moment, surrounded by laughter, art, and voices raised in harmony, the promise remained unbroken. Together, they would fight against any force threatening what lived within. Every creature deserving respect in this beautiful tapestry called Earth, they all shared together forevermore. And so it continued. This journey, fueled by collective action, intertwined with friendship, sparked anew beneath branches, whispering secrets older than time itself. A testament that when communities unite inspired by purpose born from understanding, the possibilities are endless in creating a brighter future for all who dwell beneath starlit skies filled with wonderment, waiting patiently around every corner just beyond reach. As the community continued to flourish under the banner of environmental stewardship, Tom took a moment to reflect on the entire journey that had unfolded since that fateful encounter with Bigfoot in 1972. He could hardly believe how much had changed, not just in his own life, but within the lives of those around him. A profound understanding of nature and its intricacies had blossomed, and it filled him with both pride and hope. The connection with Bigfoot had ignited a fire within him, enabling him to see beyond the immediate concerns of daily life. It was a reminder that humans were not separate from the ecosystem, but rather an integral part of it, woven together with every creature, plant, and stream. This realization fueled his desire to advocate for the environment as not just a cause, but as a way of life, a legacy that would carry on through generations. With each passing season, Tom observed how their initiatives transformed the landscape. Trails previously littered with debris now showcased vibrant flora, and wildlife began to return in greater numbers. Birds sang more freely, their melodies mingling with laughter from children exploring the forest on field trips organized by local schools. The tangible change served as evidence that collective action could indeed restore balance. Yet even as he celebrated these victories, Tom understood that there was still work to be done. The threats posed by human activity loomed larger than life. They were ingrained in societal habits and practices that needed reform. It was essential for them to continue fostering awareness beyond their tight-knit community, spreading knowledge about sustainable practices and conservation efforts far and wide. Motivated by this understanding, Tom decided to hold workshops focused on empowerment through education. He collaborated with environmental groups across the state to invite experts who could teach simple yet effective changes individuals could adopt in their daily lives, reducing waste, conserving water, supporting local farms, and advocating for policy changes that prioritized ecological health. People from neighboring towns began flocking to these workshops, eager to share ideas and strategies for protecting their shared natural resources. Each session buzzed with energy. Attendees exchanged tips on everything from composting to creating pollinator gardens in their backyards. It felt like a web of interconnectedness was forming, as though they were all part of one vast network working towards a common goal. During one workshop in particular, Tom noticed how people engaged not just with him, but also among themselves, discussing issues they faced individually and brainstorming solutions together. There was something magical about witnessing strangers bond over a shared responsibility for the earth, rallying behind a commitment rooted deep within their hearts. In one memorable moment, a young girl approached Tom after her first workshop. With bright eyes brimming with excitement, she clutched a drawing she had made depicting her vision of a clean river filled with fish swimming harmoniously. "Can we make this happen?" she asked earnestly. Tom knelt down beside her and smiled warmly. "Yes," he replied confidently, "and you can help us do it." Her enthusiasm reminded him why he fought so fiercely for this cause. It was not only about preserving nature, but also about nurturing hope in future generations. The very essence of what it meant to connect deeply with the world around them. As months passed into years, Tom's small town emerged as a beacon for environmental action, drawing visitors intrigued by its thriving green spaces and engaged citizens championing sustainability initiatives. People traveled from afar, not only to witness nature's splendor firsthand, but also to learn what could be achieved when communities came together under common goals. The annual Nature Festival grew ever larger. Families arrived excitedly from various places throughout the region to participate in workshops celebrating art inspired by nature's beauty, while learning about conservation techniques firsthand. Local artists displayed crafts made from recycled materials, while children painted mural artworks symbolizing their love for wildlife. A vivid tapestry depicting harmony between humans and nature unfurled across festival grounds year after year. Through all these efforts infused with creativity and collaboration, the lessons imparted shaped an evolving narrative. Humanity's relationship with nature could be one of respect rather than exploitation. A partnership built upon understanding rather than fear. Tom stood at the center of it all during one joyful festival afternoon. He gazed out at smiling faces, filling open spaces beneath bright banners fluttering overhead like birds taking flight. A visible representation of love for Mother Earth, intertwining through lives, uplifted amid whispers shared between branches older than time itself. Reflecting on how far they'd come since his initial choice to spare Bigfoot's life, he understood fully now it was never merely about one man or one creature. It transcended boundaries, connecting all living beings together within life's intricate web. Woven carefully through epochs past into futures, waiting patiently just beyond reach, as long as choices rooted in compassion echoed strongly onward forevermore. And amidst laughter ringing out through festival air, filled with promise anew, it became clear. This journey remained ongoing. There would always be more stories yet, untold, waiting patiently beneath starlit skies, where wonderment thrived quietly, within every heart united toward creating lasting change, meant for generations yet unborn. Reminding everyone involved that true guardianship means listening closely, not only inwardly, but also outwardly. To hear nature's heartbeat call forth, always urging mankind forward toward reconciliation, restored once lost along winding paths, painted lushly alive across landscapes, blooming ever brightly alive together. Hand in hand, moving forward united forevermore against tides, threatening what cherished spaces lie ahead, waiting patiently just beyond reach. A legacy they would shape collectively, now and always.